Hello everyone, and welcome back to Let's Talk Kashrus, presented by the Kashrus Awareness Project in conjunction with Torah Anytime. Today we are honored to be joined by Rav Moshe Heinemann, Rabbinic Administrator of the Star K in Baltimore and Rav of Agudas Yisroel in Baltimore. Thank you so much to the Rav for taking valuable time to be here today.
My pleasure.
We'd like to discuss a very important and relevant topic, and that is domestic help in regards to kashrus. People have cleaning ladies, sometimes health aides who come into their home. Very often they live there, and they're preparing food, cooking food, coming into contact with food and kalim in the house, and it results in various shilas that we'd like to discuss with the Rav. Let's start with uncooked fish or meat that one has in the house, and they have domestic help, and there aren't always Yidden around during the day. What concerns could that raise?
There are a few issues. One is an issue of bishul akum. A goy cooked the food, if this help is a goy. The second issue is an issue of maybe they changed it, and this, what they're cooking, is not the original thing that you brought them. The other issue is, are you feeding them? They're eating from in your house, or do they bring their own food? If they bring their own food, which probably is not kosher, or maybe not kosher, then the question is about all the kalim in the kitchen or in the house that they may have been used. So let's discuss first bishul akum. In the good old days, when you had a pilot light on the gas stoves, if the Yid lit the pilot light, there are opinions that say that there is no bishul akum. Not everyone agrees with that, but there were opinions like that, because every fire is lit from the fire which you already have lit. Hidlik me'eshe hidlik Yisroel. Now today you cannot get a stove that has a pilot light. It is maybe deemed not safe, because if there's a flame and there'll be a gas leak, it could explode. You cannot get it in America. You can import it from Bolivia. It is made by Whirlpool in America, exported to Bolivia, and then you can import it from Bolivia. It's the only way you can get it.
Now, when we're talking about bishul akum, we're talking about regarding your kalim.
Right. I'm talking about bishul akum, whether the food will be treif, even though it was kosher before you cooked it. If a guy cooks it, it may be bishul akum. It depends on whether this food is oil al shulchan malachim. It's a prestigious food that the king would serve when he has his state dinner or something like that. We're not talking what he eats for breakfast himself.
Right.
He may eat potato chips, but it's not something you would serve at a state dinner. So if it is something choshev, and the general rule of thumb is that if they would not be served at a wedding, it is for sure not oil shulchan malachim. It's not prestigious enough to be served at a wedding. So that's not number one. The second thing is, if it's considered something which you can eat without cooking it. So there's certain foods that you let's say corn on the cob. There are people who eat it raw. The variety which human beings eat can be eaten raw. Most people prefer to eat it cooked, but it doesn't matter. And the reasoning why it has to be something which is oil shulchan malachim, that is a prestigious food, or it cannot eat raw, is because the Chacham made this law that we're afraid that if someone would eat what a guy cooks, when people eat each other's food, it creates a connection. Most business deals are cemented over lunch. And that's when they agree to things, because once they are in a better mood of liking each other, the deal will go through better. So
assuming we're talking about foods that are what we call nechal chai, and that are also...
So if it's a food which is nechal chai, there is no problem of bishul akum.
Right.
And if it is, there's not shulchan malachim, it's not choshev, like the Shulchan Aruch says that lentils are not considered choshev. It depends on the country and depends on the place, what's considered choshev or not. What if it's considered eaten raw or not depends on the country and the time and the place.
So let's give a real case scenario.
Okay, let's give
the domestic help takes a piece of meat out of my refrigerator, puts it into my pot, and now cooks that piece of meat or fish.
Okay, so
assuming that it met the criteria for bishul akum, what is the status of the meat? What is the status of the pot, and what should I do?
Okay, so if the guy went and he cooked this meat is ola shulchan malachim. Meat is not nechal kmo shel chai in general. There may be some crazy people who may eat it raw, but we're talking about normal people do not eat it raw. So therefore, it will become bishul akum. If it becomes bishul akum, not only is the meat treif, the pot is also treif. And if you serve it hot on dishes, they may make the dishes treif, the cutlery treif. So certain things you can kasha, and certain things you cannot kasha. So if it's a plate and it becomes treif, you cannot, under normal conditions, you cannot kasha. A plate is considered kli cheres if it's made out of china. China is a type of material. It had nothing to do with the country of China. However, it's my opinion, and there may be people who disagree with me, but this is my opinion, that if you cook something in a microwave, there is no din of bishul akum.
Oh, well, we're going to ask. Let's say a domestic help takes, two questions. First of all, if they take a kosher item out of my fridge and they cook it in the microwave, what's the status of the food and the microwave? And number two, if they take, let's say, a dairy item and they put it into a fleishika microwave or vice versa.
The first question was if you take
something kosher out of my fridge
and you put it in the
microwave.
Into a microwave.
In my house.
Yes, so for sure if it was cooked before, there's no question, because even if it wouldn't be in a microwave, there wouldn't be a din bishul akum, because it's already edible. Just tastes better if it's warm. Right. But even if it was never cooked before, it's my opinion that there's no din bishul akum in a microwave.
Because?
And the reason why I say that is because when it comes to the din of bishul akum, the chachamim only asad something which is considered bishul with fire. But if you, let's say it was soaked in water by a guy for 24 hours, and Chazal say that's considered like cooking, kovish k'mavushal, it's not a problem of bishul akum. So the lashon of the Rama is, this is what he says, Lo gazru ela al bishul shel eish. They only made the takana that it's asa if it is fire. And in the microwave there is no fire. As a matter of fact, normally when you cook something in a pot, you put the fire underneath, the fire heats up the pot, and the pot heats up whatever's in it. But when it comes to a microwave, the microwave will not heat up the glass or whatever you put it in. It only heats up the food, and the food heats up the pot. So there's no fire here. If there's no fire, there is no gzeira of bishul akum. That's my opinion. So therefore, if you have a help and you can't cook it yourself, some people are invalids or whatever, they can't get out of bed or it's difficult for them, they can ask the non-Jew to cook it in a microwave as long as the food is kosher. everything, there's no problem of Bishlachim over here, and all the food will be kosher. So that is one issue. The other issue is that Chazal say if you have food, let's say meat, which you don't know for sure that this is your meat, and maybe if there is a reason to believe that there's reason to believe that the guy may have switched it with his meat because he thinks, and maybe it's true, that your meat is better, then that's a major problem. I know they once had a competition about which has the tastiest chicken, and Empire kosher chicken won one of the awards. So now when someone sees that you have Empire or some other chicken, and they bought their chicken in a Trafer store, they may just switch it. You can't tell. A chicken looks like a chicken. And if there is such a reason to be nervous about that, that is a big problem. Now, if you feed the help, you provide the food for the help, then they're not going to bring a chicken because they can. Why should they bring food from the outside? They get it for nothing from the employer. But if there is reason to believe that you don't feed them, there's reason to believe they may have switched it. So then, when it comes to things which are forbidden by the Torah, like trefa food, trefa chicken, you have to be very careful about it. Now, if you warned them before that you should only cook what I give you, can't cook anything else, and you are yotze v'nichnas, it means you come in, you come out, and this help doesn't know when you're coming in and when you're coming out. So in such a case, we're not afraid that they're going to exchange it, because they don't want to get caught, and then they probably will get fired from the job. And they want the job, so then we don't have to worry about that either. So if we're taking care of the problem of Bishul Akum, we've taken care of the problem that the meat is the meat which you told them to cook, and if for some reason, if you can tell by looking at it, there's something special about your meat. There's no fat in it, which is unusual, or there is some other sign to this meat. Your meat was cut into triangles and this meat was not. Then if you can tell by looking at it, so then that's also good, that we're not afraid that someone changed it.